Alright, what's going on, you guys? Brian here, and this is my NWA Power Recap for this week's episode. So let's get right into it. A lot of things went down in a very short episode. I was really surprised that usually that this episode was actually short. Again, just like last week's um, Circle Squared episode that they debuted. But a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss as far as championship opportunities for next week, plus a bunch of other stuff that went down. And we're going to get through that. I'm going to get through that in this video. So we started off, looking at my notes here, sorry guys. We started off with a Tim Storm interview. He talked about how he lost to Tom Latimer, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. He also talked about the fake Mama Storm that's been that he's been having issues with. As far as that is concerned, he talked about that he's not done, not yet by a long shot. Tom Latimer would come out to interrupt. He would say that Strictly Business is done with Tim Storm. He's done. He's over. It's over with them and him. And if Tim Storm ever tries to create a wedge between him and Nick Aldis over the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Title, uh, that's going to be it. Latimer went into detail about how he was Aldis's best man at his wedding, a bunch of different stuff. So then Latimer left. Then all of a sudden, here comes a guy by the name of Danny Deals, who basically issued a challenge to Tim Storm, saying that when Tim Storm won the NWA World Title, did he remember who he took it from? A man that was supposedly Storm's best friend, that Tim Storm used shady tactics to win the championship, and that the guy never forgot about it, neither did Danny Deals. And he introduced Jax Dane. Before Dane came out, Danny made a deal with Tim Storm because Storm wanted to get his hands on Danny Deals, so Danny issued the challenge saying that if Jax Dane beats Tim Storm, then Storm has to use his power in his influence in the office to have them give Jax Dane an NWA contract. However, if Tim Storm wins, then Tim Storm gets 5 minutes with Danny Deals. Dane came out, and him and Tim Storm went face to face, and that was the end of that segment. We had a Matt Cross interview. Basically, it was just Matt Cross, who made his debut at Hard Times in that TV title tournament, basically saying that wrestling is forever, and so is Matt Cross. So that was it for that. Cross was in action. He was in a triple threat match with Zicky Dice and TV champion Ricky Starks. Pretty good match. Cross hit the shooting star press on Starks. However, Zicky Dice took advantage, threw Cross out of the ring, and pinned Ricky Starks to win the match. And because of that, next week, Zicky Dice, with that victory, gets an opportunity against Ricky Starks next week for the NWA TV Championship or Television Championship. So, will Zicky Dice become the new champion, or will Ricky Starks get win number 3 in the Lucky 7, where if the TV champion can retain the championship the 7 times, he gets a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. So, That is a huge title match coming up next week. We had a May Valentine's Diary segment involving May Valentine, the love of Royce Isaacs' life. Basically, same old stuff. Same old stuff. She talked about how she was allowed to do the makeup for her friend Sal Renaro, who was injured. She's made a lot of friends. She's talked about her hectic scheduling of meet and greets, autograph signings, bunch of different stuff because of she's associated with the NWA. So that was pretty much it for that. We had an Aaron Stevens interview with the third degree national champion, the NWA national champion Aaron Stevens, who talked about his current feud with Trevor Murdoch. They asked him how he feels about every time when he is in a match, he's always running away. And it was kind of like anytime that the interviewer was saying something, he would say no, the fans would say yes. Kind of like a back and forth. It was a pretty funny segment. He would bring out the question mark. The next match was the question mark taking on Trevor Murdoch. This was a short match. Trevor Murdoch hit the question mark with a top rope bulldog to pick up the win. Of course, Trevor is the only one that has put a blemish on the question mark's record. Afterwards, Trevor Murdoch got attacked by Aaron Stevens, so obviously that continues that whole feud with Murdoch and Stevens. We had what I put down as a brawl between Villain Enterprises and Strictly Business. Nick Aldis, the NWA World Champion, came out for an interview. He was like talking about himself. He then talked about Marty Scurll, who of course he will face and will put up the NWA World title against at the Crockett Cup coming up on April 19th on pay-per-view, where if Scurll wins, he becomes NWA World Champion. However, if he loses, he will personally write Aldis a check for $500,000. Aldis called out Scurll. Scurll came out, basically did not want to do any talking. He wanted to fight Aldis. Scurll got in the ring, basically was asking Aldis, let's go, let's do this. Then all of a sudden Royce Isaacs comes out. Then Tom Latimer comes out. Each time Aldis was saying, I'm going to ask you again, you sure you want to do this? And then all of a sudden, Aldis took off his coat, was going to fight, but then realizing that the numbers advantage was in their favor, here comes Villain Enterprises' Brody King to kind of even the odds and help out Scurll. They got into a brawl that would end up with security and referees breaking it up. We then had an Eddie Kingston promo. He came out, called out the Pope. Basically, this whole rivalry has been going on. Pope came out, talked about it. Anything that he wanted to do, he could just do. The bouncers, Brian Malonis and what's the other? Beer City Bruiser came out, and people thought that they were on the side of Eddie Kingston. Pope then was like, if I wanted beer like that, I could get it. And the bouncers attacked Eddie Kingston. They threw him in the ring. They hit their double team move on him, and so it looks like the Pope has a new team, has a new backup in the bouncers from Ring of Honor. They then announced during a segment that because of that, and I don't know how it is because of that, because of what happened. The Bouncers next week are going to get an NWA World Tag Team title match against the current champions James Storm and Eli Drake. So that is another huge title match added to next week's show, also including the NWA television title match between Zicky Dice and the champion Ricky Starks. They also announced the first team to enter the Crockett Cup tournament coming up on April 19th. It is going to be the Rock and Roll Express. A huge opportunity for the Rock and Roll Express, who made their NWA return last year, and they are looking to win the Crockett Cup this year. So they are the first team to be entered. Hopefully, in the weeks leading up to that event, we'll find out what other tag teams are going to be involved in that Crockett Cup tournament. Then we had the main event. It was for the NWA Women's World Championship. It was Melina challenging Thunder Rosa. This one had a bit of surprise ending to it. From what I read in the when they played the video of the episode, there was a lot of people in the chat saying that this was a weird ending because of what happened after the match. Melina basically wanted Thunder Rosa to lay down. That's what she seemingly wanted from Thunder Rosa, for her to give her the championship and lay down so that she could win it. When Thunder Rosa refused, she was like, "What are you doing? Lay down." Thunder Rosa pushed Melina. Then Melina left the ring, got counted out. When she was walking up the steps, Allison Kay, the former women's champion, she stopped her, chased her back down, started going after her, threw her in the ring. Melina went into the corner. Allison was like, "Come on, let's do this." When out of nowhere, from behind, Camille would come in and hit Allison Kay with a spear, and then would have a stare down with Thunder Rosa to end the show, with Thunder Rosa still your NWA Women's Champion, but apparently Camille is now entering the fray as far as the women's division in NWA. So kind of a shocking ending, surprise ending to this week's episode. But overall, I thought the episode was good. So with that being said, I'm going to cut it off here. This has been my NWA Power Recap for this week's episode. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.